They thought they were destroying you. They weren't. They were forging you. Every cut, every betrayal, every door slammed in your face, every name dragged through the mud, every silence where there should have been loyalty. They didn't know what they were building. They thought they were ending a man. They were waking one up. Look at who you used to be. The version that begged, the version that explained itself to people who had already made up their minds, the version that apologized for taking up space, that asked permission to exist, that mistook their cruelty for his own failure. That man is dead. They killed him. And in his place, something colder walked out of the grave. They wanted you small, quiet, manageable, predictable, easy to use, easy to discard. So they struck when you were weakest. They calculated the moment. They moved clean. And they told themselves the story would end there, with you on your knees, grateful for the scraps. It didn't end there. This is the lesson Machiavelli understood 5 centuries ago, the lesson the world has spent every century since trying to bury. A man who is wounded and survives is not the same man. He has been somewhere his enemies have never been. He has touched the bottom and discovered the bottom had a floor he could stand on. He has stopped fearing what they could take from him because they already took it. That man is dangerous, not loud, not theatrical, quietly, surgically, irreversibly dangerous. Before we go deeper, type 4 words in the comments. I am what they feared. Type it because it is finally true. Number 2, the wound that sharpened the blade. Now understand something most men never will. The wound did not weaken you. The wound revealed you. Pain is the most honest teacher you will ever meet. It does not flatter. It does not negotiate. It does not care about your potential, your intentions, or the story you tell yourself in the mirror. It strips you down to what is actually there, and what is actually there is the only thing you can ever build a real life on. Everything else is decoration. Everything else collapses the moment pressure arrives. The men who betrayed you handed you a gift they will never understand. They showed you who you were when comfort was taken away. They showed you which friends were ornaments and which were architecture. They showed you which beliefs were yours and which were borrowed from people who did not love you. Most men go their whole lives without that information. They die surrounded by liars they mistook for family, by ambitions that were never theirs, by a self-image built entirely on applause. You don't have that problem anymore. The applause stopped. The mask came off. And what was left underneath was the only thing in your life worth defending. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the bold, but he meant something sharper than the motivational poster version. He meant that fortune is a river that drowns the unprepared and carries the prepared to power. The wound prepared you. It taught you that safety is an illusion sold to the comfortable. It taught you that loyalty is a transaction most people cannot afford. It taught you that the world rewards clarity, not kindness, and that the men who pretend otherwise are usually the ones holding the knife. So stop mourning the version of you that died on that floor. He had to die. He was too soft for the life you are about to live. He trusted too quickly, hoped too loudly, bled too publicly. The man who replaced him has none of those weaknesses. He watches before he speaks. He decides before he reacts. He measures every face in the room before he gives it access to his life. He is not bitter. Bitterness is for men who are still surprised by betrayal. He is simply awake. Number 3, the death of the old you. There is a death, no funeral marks, no coffin, no flowers, no one in black standing in the rain. It happens in silence, usually at night, usually alone, usually after the worst thing that ever happened to you has already happened. The old you dies, and no one notices, not even at first, you. You wake up the next morning, and the world looks the same. The coffee tastes the same. The mirror shows the same face. But something inside the house is different. A room has been emptied. A voice that used to argue with you has gone quiet. The part of you that needed their approval, that rehearsed conversations with people who never thought about you, that measured its worth in the eyes of men who would sell you for a discount. That part is gone, and the silence it leaves behind is the first real peace you have ever known. Most men spend their entire lives running from this death. They medicate it. They distract it. They drown it in noise, in women, in liquor, in scrolling, in any cheap god that will let them avoid the room where the old self is dying. So the old self never dies cleanly. It rots inside them. It runs their decisions from the grave. It keeps them loyal to people who hate them, attached to dreams that were never theirs, afraid of judgments from rooms they will never enter. You don't have that disease anymore. They cut it out of you when they betrayed you. They performed the surgery you were too afraid to perform on yourself. This is the secret Machiavelli understood about power, and that the comfortable will deny until the day they die. A man cannot become dangerous until the version of him that wanted to be liked is buried, not suppressed, not managed, buried, because the need to be liked is the leash every weak man wears and every strong man learns to cut. While you wear that leash, every decision you make is filtered through the imagined opinions of people who do not love you. Your ambition shrinks to fit their comfort. Your truth softens to fit their tolerance. Your life becomes a performance for an audience that is not even watching. The day they betrayed you, that audience walked out, and in the empty theater for the first time, you heard your own voice. Listen to it now. It is colder than you remember. It is clearer than you expected. It is the voice of the man they accidentally created. Type it once more in the comments. I am what they feared. Number 4. The architecture of the untouchable man. Now we build, because surviving the wound is not the destination, it is the foundation. And a foundation without a structure on top of it is just a scar in the dirt. The untouchable man is not born. He is engineered deliberately, decision by decision, in the years after his destruction, and every part of his architecture is designed to make sure what happened to you once cannot happen to you again. Listen carefully, because most men will never hear this said plainly. The untouchable man begins with silence, not the silence of fear, the silence of strategy. He stops announcing his moves, he stops explaining his reasoning, he stops handing his enemies the blueprint of his life under the illusion that transparency is a virtue. Transparency is a virtue between equals. Among predators, it is a confession. So he closes his mouth, and in the quiet, his power begins to compound. The second pillar is distance. He learns that proximity is the price of betrayal. The people who hurt you most were the ones you allowed closest, and that was not an accident. It was access. The untouchable man controls access the way a king controls a gate. Not everyone who knocks gets in. Not everyone who gets in stays. He is generous with his time, but stingy with his interior, and he understands the difference. The third pillar is patience. The old you wanted justice loud and fast. The new you understands that revenge served in real time is just another tantrum, and tantrums are how weak men announce their wounds. The untouchable man waits. He lets time do the work that anger wants to do badly. He knows that the people who betrayed him are already on a road that leads somewhere small, and his job is not to push them. His job is to keep walking in the opposite direction until the distance between his life and theirs becomes a verdict no one can argue with. The fourth pillar is unpredictability. He never lets anyone fully map him. He gives different people different versions of the truth, not out of dishonesty, but because no one has earned the whole picture. Machiavelli understood this with surgical precision. A man who is fully known is a man who is fully managed. And a managed man is not a free one. The fifth pillar, and the one that finishes the structure, is indifference to applause. The untouchable man does not need to be celebrated, defended, or understood. He acts on his own counsel. He measures himself by standards no crowd is qualified to set. Praise does not lift him. Insult does not lower him. He has moved his center of gravity inside himself, where no one can reach it, and that single shift is what makes him impossible to control. This is the architecture. Silence, distance, patience, unpredictability, Indifference to applause. 5 pillars, holding up a man who can no longer be destroyed by the things that destroyed the version of him that came before. Down in the comments, type 3 words now. Not the old phrase, a sharper one. They lost me. 3 words. Let them carry the weight of every door you are never walking back through. Number 5. The law of quiet power. Here is a truth the loud world will never teach you because the loud world depends on you not knowing it. Real power does not announce itself. It does not post. It does not perform. It does not need an audience to feel real. The men who shout their strength are usually the men who have the least of it, because strength that requires a witness is not strength, it is performance. And performance is the costume weak men wear when they cannot afford the real thing. The untouchable man learns this early, usually the hard way, usually after watching a louder man collapse under the weight of a reputation he could not actually carry. Quiet power operates by a different physics. It does not chase, it attracts. It does not argue, it decides. It does not explain itself to people who are never going to understand. It moves on its own clock, in its own direction, and lets the results speak in a language no critic can edit. While other men are draining themselves trying to be seen, the quiet man is compounding, in skill, in capital, in clarity, in the kind of competence that does not need a caption. And one day, without a single announcement, he simply arrives. The room shifts when he walks in. People who used to talk over him stop mid-sentence. People who used to dismiss him suddenly remember his name. He did not climb to that moment with noise. He climbed to it with discipline so consistent it became invisible and then undeniable. Understand the mechanics of this, because they are not mystical. They are mechanical. Every word you do not say is a weapon you keep loaded. Every reaction you do not give is a leash you refuse to wear. Every explanation you withhold is a piece of yourself that stays sovereign. Most men leak their power through their mouths. They tell their plans before the plans are real. They announce their comebacks before the comeback has muscle. They share their wounds with audiences that came to watch them bleed, not to help them heal. And by the time they are ready to move, they have already given away everything that would have made the move dangerous. You will not make that mistake again. Machiavelli wrote that men should be either caressed or crushed because they will avenge a small injury but cannot avenge a great one. Translate that out of the 16th century and into your life. Do not warn the people you intend to surpass. Do not lecture the people who underestimated you. Do not give monologues to the rooms you are about to outgrow. Let your absence be the only statement you make. Let your results be the only argument you submit. Let your silence become so heavy that the people who used to talk about you start to wonder what you know that they don't. Because while they are wondering, you are working. While they are guessing, you are building. While they are looking for you on the old battlefields, you have already moved to a country they cannot find on any map they own. This is the law of quiet power, and it is the law that separates men who recover from men who rise. The recovered man is back to where he was. The risen man is somewhere new, somewhere higher, somewhere the people who hurt him cannot follow without an invitation he will never send. Decide right now which one you are going to be. Then close your mouth and begin. Down in the comments, type 4 words, a new line, sharper than the last. My silence is strategy. 4 words. Let everyone who scrolls past them feel a little colder than they did a moment before. Number 6. The enemies who made you sharper. Now turn and look at them. Not with rage, not with longing, not with the trembling hope that they will one day knock on your door and apologize for what they took. Look at them the way a craftsman looks at the tools that shaped him, without affection, without resentment, but with the cold acknowledgement that they did a job and the job is finished. Your enemies were not a tragedy, they were a curriculum. Every person who betrayed you taught you something no friend ever could, because friends protect you from the truth and enemies hand it to you with the handle pointed at your chest. The friend tells you that you are wonderful. The enemy tells you where you are weak. And of those 2 messages, only one of them can actually save your life. So stop hating them. Hate is a leash that lets them keep walking you. every minute you spend rehearsing what they did is a minute you have rented out to people who are not paying you for the space. You think you are punishing them with your anger, but they cannot feel it. They are eating dinner. They are scrolling their phones. They are sleeping deeply in beds you imagine to be cursed. The only person your hatred is touching is you, and it is touching you everywhere. The untouchable man understands this with monastic clarity. He does not forgive his enemies because they deserve it. He releases them because he refuses to carry them any further. He puts them down the way a soldier puts down a weapon he no longer needs, not because the war is over, but because his hands are required for something heavier now. Then he studies them, cold, methodical, without flinching. Because every enemy is a free education in human nature, and most men are too emotional to read the book. Look at the one who betrayed you. What did he want? Not what he said he wanted. What did he actually want? Look at the one who abandoned you. What was she protecting? Not what she claimed to be protecting. What was she actually afraid of losing? Look at the ones who watched it happen and said nothing. What does their silence tell you about how they will behave the next time loyalty has a price tag? These are not rhetorical questions, they are the syllabus. Read it carefully, because the same patterns are walking toward you right now, wearing different faces, smiling different smiles, and the only thing standing between you and the next betrayal is whether you learned the lesson the last one tried to teach. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must be a great pretender and dissembler, not because deception is noble, but because the world is full of men who will eat you alive if you mistake their politeness for their nature. He was not being cynical, he was being accurate. The men who refuse to see this die, clutching the illusion that everyone meant well. The men who see it clearly walk through the same world untouched, because they stopped expecting wolves to behave like sheep simply because the wolves were dressed for the occasion. So here is your new posture. You will not hate the people who hurt you. Hatred is intimacy in its ugliest form, and they have not earned that intimacy. You will not forgive them in the way the comfortable use that word, the soft, weepy, performative forgiveness that demands nothing and changes nothing. You will do something colder and far more final. You will become unrecognizable to them. You will build a life so far from the one they tried to bury you in that if they ever stumbled across it, they would not even know it was yours. They would see a man they cannot place, a presence they cannot reach, a name they cannot use. And in that moment, a moment you will not be there to witness because you will be busy with bigger things, they will understand, without anyone explaining it to them, that they did not destroy you. They graduated you. They handed you a diploma signed in their own betrayal. And you walked out of their school into a life they were never qualified to enter. Down in the comments, type 5 words now. They were my dark teachers. 5 words. Let the lesson finally end. Number 7. The reinvention they cannot reach. Now we move to the part most men never reach because most men stop at survival and call it a life. Surviving is not the goal. Surviving is the door. What you do on the other side of the door is the only thing that will ever matter. And the other side of the door is reinvention. Total, ruthless, unrecognizable reinvention. Not a rebrand, not a glow-up. Not a softer version of the same man with better lighting, a full demolition and a full rebuild executed by a man who has finally understood that the version of him his enemies knew is the only version they were ever equipped to defeat. Build a new one, and they have no weapons. Build a new one, and the entire war they prepared for becomes irrelevant. This is the move they did not anticipate, because most people, after being broken, simply try to glue themselves back into the shape they were before. They want their old life back. They want their old friends back. They want the version of themselves that existed before the wound, as if returning to that man would be a victory. It would not be a victory. It would be a relapse. That man is the one who got destroyed. Why would you rebuild the structure that already collapsed once, in the same spot, out of the same materials, and expect a different outcome? You wouldn't. You won't. The reinvented man does not return to the scene. He moves, geographically, if he must, socially, without question, psychologically, without hesitation. He changes the rooms he walks into, the conversations he engages in, the standards he holds, the company he keeps, the hours he wakes, the things he reads, the way he speaks, the way he carries his body through a room. He becomes, by deliberate construction, a man his enemies could not pick out of a crowd. And this is where the real power begins, because reinvention is not just about becoming new, it is about becoming inaccessible. The people who hurt you had a map of you. They knew which buttons to press. They knew which insecurities to exploit. They knew which loyalties to weaponize. Every cruelty they delivered was custom-made, tailored to the man you used to be. Burn the map, become a country they have no passport to, develop interests they cannot mock because they cannot understand them, build skills they cannot diminish because they cannot replicate them, cultivate a presence they cannot destabilize because it is no longer built on anything they have access to. The man they knew was reachable. The man you are becoming is not even on the same continent. Machiavelli understood that fortresses must be designed not against the enemy you fought yesterday, but against the enemy you will fight tomorrow. The walls that would have saved the old you will not save the new one, because the new one is moving through different terrain, fighting different battles, defending different territory. So build accordingly. Build a body that does not collapse under stress, because stress is coming and it does not negotiate. Build a mind that does not flinch under pressure, because pressure will arrive uninvited and stay longer than you expect. Build a financial position that does not depend on the goodwill of people who do not have any, because goodwill is the most volatile currency on earth, and the men who trade in it always go bankrupt. Build a circle so small and so loyal that betrayal becomes structurally impossible. Not because the people in it are saints, but because you have selected them with the patience of a man who has already paid the price for selecting badly. And then, when the new fortress is built, do something the old you would never have had the discipline to do. Disappear into it. Stop performing your reinvention. Stop announcing your evolution. Stop posting the receipts of your growth for an audience that includes your enemies. The reinvention is not for them. The reinvention is the wall between you and them, and walls do not need to explain themselves to the people they are keeping out. Let the people who knew the old you wonder what happened to him. Let them speculate. Let them invent stories. Let them comfort themselves with whatever version of events lets them sleep at night. You will not be there to correct the record because the record no longer concerns you. You are busy in the new country, building the new life, becoming the new man, the one they accidentally made possible the day they decided the old one was disposable. That is the reinvention they cannot reach, not because they are not trying, because you are no longer where they are looking. Down in the comments, type 4 words now. I am unreachable now. 4 words. Let them land like a door closing in a room no one will ever enter again. Number 8. The cold discipline of the new man. Reinvention without discipline is theater, and the world is already full of men performing transformations they will not be able to maintain past the next hard week. You will not be one of them. The new man is not built by inspiration. Inspiration is the cheapest fuel on earth, and it always runs out exactly when you need it most. The new man is built by discipline, and discipline is colder than motivation, quieter than passion, and infinitely more loyal than any feeling you will ever have about your own life. Discipline is what shows up when the wound reopens at 3 in the morning and tells you that you were a fool to think you had healed. Discipline is what answers that voice not with an argument, but with a routine. Routines are how strong men survive nights that would have broken the version of them that existed last year. Understand what discipline actually is, because the soft world has lied to you about it. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not self-hatred dressed up in athletic clothing. Discipline is not the grim, joyless grind that influencers sell you while sitting in rented mansions. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect a man can practice, because it is the daily, unwitnessed decision to keep the promises you made to yourself when no one was watching and no one would have noticed if you broke them. Every promise you keep to yourself in private compounds into a man who cannot be moved in public. Every promise you break in private compounds into a man who collapses the moment pressure arrives. There is no third option. You are building one of those two men right now, today, with the choices you are making while you think no one is keeping score. Someone is keeping score. You are. And your nervous system remembers every entry. The new man wakes up at the same time every day, not because the hour is sacred, but because the consistency is. He trains his body, not for the mirror, but for the moments in life when softness will get him killed. And those moments are coming, because they always come. He reads, not to impress anyone, but because the men who shaped history were almost always the men who studied the men who came before them, and he refuses to fight battles his ancestors already wrote the manual for. He controls what enters his mind the way a king controls what enters his city, because he understands that the modern world is an open sewer of information designed to make him weaker, slower, and more afraid, and that consuming it without filter is a form of slow suicide most men do not realize they are committing. He guards his mornings, he guards his evenings, he guards the hour before he sleeps and the hour after he wakes, because those are the hours when the mind is most porous, and what enters there shapes the entire architecture of the day. He says no more often than he says yes, because his time is the only non-renewable resource he owns, and he refuses to spend it on people, projects, and conversations that will not exist in his life 1 year from now. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so subject to present necessities that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. The new man refuses to be that someone. He builds his discipline as a wall against the present necessities, the urgent texts, the dramatic invitations, the manufactured emergencies that other people use to redirect his life into the service of theirs. He does not answer every call. He does not attend every event. He does not perform every reaction the world expects of him. He has become, by quiet construction, a man whose schedule is a fortress and whose attention is a treasure he distributes like a miser. And here is the part that the soft world will never tell you, because it would put them out of business. This discipline is not a cage. It is the only freedom you will ever know. The man without discipline is a slave to every passing impulse, every notification, every emotional weather system, every person clever enough to manipulate his moods. The disciplined man is the only free man in the room because he is the only one whose life is being directed by a hand that actually belongs to him. Everyone else is being moved by forces they did not choose, toward destinations they did not select, on a timeline written by people who do not love them. You will not be moved. You will not be redirected. You will not be talked out of the life you are building by people who could not even build their own. Down in the comments, type 3 words. Discipline is freedom. 3 words. Let them anchor everything that comes next. Number 9. The verdict of the years. Now lift your eyes off the present and look at the long road, because everything we have spoken about until now, the wound, the death, the architecture, the silence, the reinvention, the discipline, none of it can be judged in a week, a month, or even a year. The verdict of a man's life is not written in the moments when he is being attacked. It is written in the decade after the attack ends, when the cameras are gone, when the audience has scrolled away, when the people who hurt him have moved on to hurt someone else, and the only thing left in the room is him and the choices he made when no one was applauding. That decade is where the real story lives. That decade is where most men quietly lose and a few quietly win. And the difference between the two is almost never visible while it is happening. Time is the most honest judge a man will ever face, and time cannot be charmed, bribed, manipulated, or rushed. Time does not care about your trauma. Time does not care about your excuses. Time does not care about the unfair start, the betrayed trust, the wasted years, the people who got away with what they did to you. Time only cares about one question, asked again and again, every single day, in every single decision. What are you doing with the hours you have left? Most men cannot face that question, so they never ask it. They let the years move past them like a current they refuse to swim in, and they wake up at 40, at 50, at 60, and discover with quiet horror that the life they meant to live got replaced by the life they happened to drift into. The new man asks the question every morning, not dramatically, not with anguish, with the calm precision of a man reviewing a balance sheet. What did I do yesterday that the man I am becoming would have done? What did I do yesterday that the man I am leaving behind would have done? And in the space between those two answers, he finds his daily correction, small, unglamorous, repeated. That is the entire formula. Anyone who tells you it is more complicated is selling you something, and anyone who tells you it is simpler has not lived long enough to know better. Understand the brutal mathematics of this. 5 years of disciplined, quiet, unwitnessed compounding will put you in a position that 10 years of frantic performative effort will never reach. Because compounding does not announce itself. It does not give you a satisfying weekly update. It does not reward you with applause for the first 18 months, and most men quit somewhere in that 18-month window, convinced that nothing is happening. Something is always happening. The roots are growing, the architecture is forming, the man is being built beneath the surface in a place no observer can see, including often you. And then one day the surface breaks and the tree is suddenly there, fully formed, impossible to argue with. And the people who watched you struggle in the early years will tell themselves you got lucky, because the alternative is admitting they did not have the patience to do what you did. Machiavelli wrote that there is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. He was writing about politics. He could just as easily have been writing about your life. Becoming a new man is the most dangerous project you will ever undertake, because every old loyalty, every old habit, every old relationship, every old version of yourself will resist the transition with everything it has. They will not resist you with attacks. They will resist you with comfort, with nostalgia, with invitations to return to the man you used to be, framed as kindness. The verdict of the years will be decided by whether you accept those invitations or decline them, by whether you choose the warm familiarity of the old life or the cold construction of the new one, by whether you let the people who knew the old you talk you back into being him, or whether you let your distance from him become the most permanent thing about your life. Choose the cold construction, choose the long road, choose the unwitnessed years, the unapplauded discipline, the slow architecture of a man who is being built by his own hand and no one else's. Because the verdict is coming. It is being written right now, in the choices you are making this week. And the man who reads that verdict in a decade will either thank you or curse you, depending on what you did with the silence after the storm. Down in the comments, type 4 words. The years are mine. 4 words. Let them become a contract you sign with the man you are becoming. Number 10. The final word, untouchable. So here you are at the end of this, but really at the beginning of everything that comes after it. They tried to destroy you. They only created something worse for them, better for you, and unrecognizable to anyone who knew the man you used to be. That is the entire story, compressed into a single sentence you will carry for the rest of your life. Carry it quietly. Do not announce it. Do not post it. Do not explain it to people who would not understand it, even if you handed them the manuscript. The men who needed to hear this already know it in their bones, and the men who needed to be warned by it have already been warned by their own collapses. You are not here to convert anyone. You are here to become someone. Untouchable is not a costume. It is not a mood. It is not a phase you enter when you are angry and exit when you are lonely. Untouchable is a structural condition of a life that has been rebuilt from the foundation up by a man who finally understood that no one was coming to save him and decided that no one needed to. You are that man now. The wound did its work. The death cleared the ground. The architecture is standing. The discipline is daily. The years are ahead of you, and for the first time in your life, they belong to you. Let the people who hurt you fade into the distance they earned. Let the audience scroll past, unaware of what they just witnessed. Let the noise of the world continue without your participation in it. You have a life to build, and the building is silent. and the silence is the point. One last time, in the comments below, type 3 words. I am untouchable. 3 words. Sign the contract, then close the app, close the noise, close the chapter, and walk into the life that the people who tried to destroy you accidentally made possible. If this monologue reached something real in you, do 3 things before you go. Like the video so the algorithm carries it to the next man who needs it. Subscribe to Machiavellian Mind because the work continues here, week after week, sentence after sentence. And turn on notifications so the next lesson finds you the moment it arrives.